So we are going to discuss these topics, around 10 topics. So these are covering from 14th August to 22nd August. So we have list of topics here: secular civil code, GS2 polity, lateral entry, GS2 governance, ST takes moto cognizance again polity, constitution, policy. This is GS2 IR. Ethanol blending, GS paper 3 environment, illegal mining Lateral, GS1 problem, St. Martin mining, GS2 IR, Poland, GS2 IR again, liquid water found on Mars, GS3 scientific. So these are the topics we are going to discuss. So first topic is secular civil code. So why are we discussing the secular civil code? What is the reason behind? Right. So the Prime Minister in his Independence Day speech, okay? So he has mentioned that there is a need for introducing or implementing secular civil code. Secular civil code means uniform civil code. So what is this need and why we need, and is there any civil code in India existing as of now? We'll be discussing all the things which you need to understand from this topic. Okay, everything will be covered once you understand. Right? So this is also called as uniform civil code. Right? So what is this uniform civil code or secular civil code? Law in general, if you see, it will be of two types, civil and criminal, right? So if you see, criminal means what? Anything that is dealing with crimes that happen in a society, right? So for this, if you see in India, we have some set of laws. IPC, now it was replaced by Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, TSPSC, Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, BNSS. Okay, so like this, we have some set of laws dealing with criminal aspects. So irrespective of your religion, irrespective of your caste, these laws will apply uniform, right, in criminal aspects. But coming to civil aspects means which deal with marriage, divorce, inheritance, succession, guardianship, these things. If you see, there is no uniformity in civil aspects. Currently, we have religious laws which are dealing with civil related aspects. For that reason, now the Prime Minister, from many years on also, the BJP as a political party has promised in its manifesto also that will introduce secular civil code or uniform civil code. That means all these religious laws as of now which are there, that will be replaced entirely and will have like IPC, a uniform law which is dealing with all aspects of marriage, inheritance, divorce, etc. Okay? So what is the need we have seen? So what is uniform civil code or secular civil code we have seen? Then what is the need? Why we need same law when we have already different types of religious laws? First is to ensure uniformity. For example, if you take the case of Hindu and Islam, right? In Hindu religion, if you see, marrying more than one living spouse is a offense of bigamy, and that is a ground for divorce. But if you see the same case, is it a ground for divorce in Islam? Because one can marry and have 4 living spouses in Islam, that is permitted, right? So that can be misused also. I told you previously in the other students know, we have discussed Sarla Mudgul case. I told you Sarla Mudgul case means to just bypass, okay, the law. He has converted himself from Hindu to Islam, right? So in that way it can be misused. So to prevent this, we need to convert all these into one uniform law. For that reason only, we are aspiring to bring a uniform civil code or secular civil code. That's the reason, right? So if you see, in case if you see in divorce also, under Hindu Marriage Act, especially section 13 talks about the different types of grounds for divorce, you can say. But in Islam, if you see, simply if you just say 3 times talaq. That can be a ground for divorce. So that is also getting misused. So that means some particular sections of the society or some women in particular religions, they can be again actually discriminated in this way. So they may be actually like you can say that manipulated can also be done, right? So just on WhatsApp messages also they're uttering talaq, talaq, talaq. Okay. So what will happen? So to correct all this injustice that is being done to different sections of the society, there is a call for uniform civil code. That's a need, right? So then when you come to the constitutional provisions regarding to this, do Indian Constitution have any provision related to uniform civil code? Article 44. Is it a fundamental right? Is it a? It is a directive principle of state policy. So what is the difference between directive principle and a fundamental right? Not compulsory, justiciable. Fundamental rights are justiciable. Justiciable means in case if your right is violated, you can approach High Court and Supreme Court and you can ask courts to enforce your right. That's the justiciability of fundamental rights. But whereas directive principle, fundamental rights give certain rights to individuals. But whereas directive principles, if you see, those are the instructions given by the constitutional framework to the state. Right? State means here the government. So these are the instructions. When they follow certain things, we can achieve a welfare state. What are those which we have to follow? Is directive principle. Because to reach the welfare state concept, where we are trying to eradicate all the inequalities or whatever the injustice that is in the society, to reach that particular state, we need certain policies. How we are going to frame those policies? Keeping these directive principles in our mind. So that is the main objective why these things were included, although they were not giving any rights to the individual. So fundamental rights are justiciable, whereas directive principles are non-justiciable. That means even if it is not enforced also, you cannot go to court and you cannot ask, you please enforce my right, because it is non-justiciable in nature. Part 3, fundamental rights. Part 4, directive principles of state policy. 12 to 35 here, 36 to 51 here, right? So from which country we have borrowed fundamental rights? USA. This side, Irish. Irish constitution is Ireland, right? So then, if you see this, fundamental rights have an objective to promote political democracy, whereas directive principles try to promote socio-economic democracy by achieving a welfare state, right? So these are the things which you need to understand. Comparison, and if you see, directive principles are not available for anyone. That means only an instruction to the state. But whereas fundamental rights, those are certain things available to citizens of India, and certain are also available to all the persons in general, irrespective of the citizen. Right? Then, coming to UPSC here, Uniform Civil Code, it is just a directive principle. Means even if it is a state is not implementing this, there won't be any enforceability on the state by the courts. That is what you have to keep in mind. So, is there any state in India implementing Uniform Civil Code? Goa. What is Uttarakhand also? Recently, Uttarakhand also have passed the bill, right? So, what is the reason why Goa only had Uniform Civil Code? But India is, Goa is an Indian state. Okay. So when it became part of India? 1961. Operation Vijay. Okay. Operation Vijay is the operation that Indian government has launched to take Goa from Portuguese. Along with Goa, Daman, Diu, Dadra Nagar Haveli. These also we got, okay, from India. Right, so from Portuguese to India. So if you see here, at that point of time, although that is not directly related to this topic, but at that point of time, who are all the citizens of Goa automatically become citizenship? Yes or no? They automatically acquire the citizenship of India. Yes or no? Because under Citizenship Amendment, Citizenship Act of 1955, there are 5 ways of getting the citizenship: grant, birth, registration, acquisition, naturalization, and descent. Okay. So if you see here, acquisition is there. Under acquisition means what? If any particular foreign territory was acquired by India, automatically those countries' citizens will become part of Indian citizenship. Okay. So in that way, Goan citizens also directly became. That is the reason, although after becoming part of India, as they wanted to continue the same civil code, which is uniform, which they have taken from Portuguese, they are implementing the uniform civil code. So in that context, Supreme Court recently also had made a statement. Goa is one such shining example among all the other things. Only one thing which is implementing the uniform civil code, right? So is the concept clear? Let us see here. Aim is nothing but to provide single set of law for all the aspects of marriage, divorce, inheritance, property rights, etc. for all the citizens, irrespective of their religious affiliation, whatever the religion you belong. Okay, that doesn't matter there. Only you will have uniform law. That's the main objective. So currently India have different personal laws. For example, Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act, Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, like this. We have some set of laws for Hindus. Same way for Muslims it is Shariat law, 1937. And for Christians, Christian Marriage Act of 1872. Like that, we have one religion, one particular law is there. We have to replace all these with a uniform law, right? That is the main objective of bringing a uniform civil code. Then the idea behind this is to replace all this with a common code that is applied to everyone in the country. Then in 2019, Supreme Court has made this remark, Goa is a shining example. Okay, that means we also wanted to implement this uniform civil code. So historical background, when we are framing our constitution also, Ambedkar said it is very much important to maintain India's secular character. We need to bring anytime a uniform civil code. At that point of time, understand why didn't they include, when they wanted to aspire India to have a uniform civil code, why didn't they include in the constitution itself? Very good. Already partition related riots, everything is creating some disturbance in the society. At that point of time, if you say anything that all your religious laws will take away and will just implement one uniform law, people again will not accept that, right? So that is why anything change has to come gradual. For that reason, only at that point of time, constitutional framers. In framing the constitution also, there have been different debates also in the Constitutional Assembly. Some persons said in favor of bringing and some persons said against also. But what actually happened is they thought this is not the right time because we're undergoing partition related problems and all. So that is not the right time. So we'll wait when entire country decides that we need to have a civil code, then it is the right thing to bring. Okay, so in that way they have postponed. But they mentioned anytime it is ideal to bring a uniform civil code. Then current scenario, you have seen Prime Minister also said the existing civil code, the present religious civil code is nothing but a communal as well as discriminatory. Because in Islam, if you see, women are discriminated by just uttering the talaq 3 times. Right? In that way, in one particular religion, there will be some flaws. In that particular section, may be discriminated. So we need to correct all this by bringing a secular civil code. That's what. Then constitutional provisions, part 4 and Article 44. So what is Article 44 talking? State shall endeavor. See here, the term shall is very important. Shall means it is mandatory or must. Okay? So it shall endeavor to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Shall means in future will aspire to bring a civil code. That's the main objective here. So you know part 4 or not enforceable in nature. That is why you cannot ask the court to bring a uniform civil code. Uses in India, you know, Portuguese civil code of 1867. This is being applied in Goa, right? And currently, if you see Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Assam, these states are also trying to bring their own set of laws because you know whatever the topics we are discussing here, the civil aspects, especially marriage, divorce, inheritance, all these form under concurrent list. This is the most important thing. Everyone will be reading these aspects. But UPSC will ask you under which list they fall. You may get confused. If that is not falling under concurrent list, how these will have the powers to bring their own laws? Yes or no? So that means until Parliament brings a law, they can also have their own law. Yes or no? If Parliament brings a uniform civil code and they also have their own uniform civil code, which one will prevail? Whatever the law that is passed by Parliament will only prevail, right? So you know that particular thing, right? In case if Parliament and state passes same type of subject related law, then Parliament law only will prevail over the entire territory of India, right? So in this way you have to keep in mind. Then these are the cases. You have Sarla Mudgal case I just told you, right? A Hindu husband, okay, to marry another one and he had his own wife living. So he has converted himself from Hinduism to Islam. So that also was not entertained by the Supreme Court, a very important case. Then you have Pannalal versus Bansilal Patil versus State of Andhra Pradesh case. In this case also, what Supreme Court said is, desirable. Okay, but what is desirable is at that point of time when entire country in all communities together accept that we need, at that point of time you can bring it. It is desirable. But it is not that you have to bring it immediately without consultations or without any interactions and all. Once if all the communities think and they accept that yes, this is a need, then it has to be brought. Same is the case told in this particular case also. Okay? You have to remember only this one in case if a question is asked in this. Right? So other two cases are only given for your reference. Shah Bano case. Okay, that's the most important case also we have here. I have mentioned it. Muhammad Ahmed Khan versus Shah Bano Begum. Okay, so this is a case related to maintenance. Recently, Supreme Court also observed maintenance. I'll discuss that again. So, what are the challenges? So, when we wanted to bring uniform civil code, there will be some hindrances also. What are those? So, we have diversity in India. Diversity means we have many religions, we have different languages, we have different cultures. So, when we have these, and you know, if, for example, if you have different languages, you also have Article 29 and 30, which is giving you right to conserve your own language, culture and all. At that point of time, it's not easy to replace all languages and cultures and to bring a uniform law. Yes or no? The people will say, I have my right to conserve my language, culture under 2930 and they'll not accept. Same is the case that happens here also. If you're trying to bring a uniform civil code, the person of another religion will say, I have 25 to 28, my freedom of religion. Then how you can take away my personal law? I'll follow this law only. Then that's not easy. That is the reason it is having an hindrance in the form of diversity. Diversity in the context of language, culture in the form of Article 29 and 30. Religious diversity is guaranteed under 25 to 28. These both are fundamental rights only. You can see enforcement becomes a challenge here, right? So Supreme Court cannot easily interpret these type of things. And it can also infringe the religious freedom and religion, right? When you touch any particular religious aspect, immediately they say, I have my freedom of religion, 25 to 28. So they'll demand for having fundamental freedom of religion. So that is not that easy to bring. Then what are the arguments? Thievery. Why we need a civil code? Uniformity will be there. So it will be easy for administrating justice, right? So if there is a case, for example, if there is a boy, Hindu boy and a Islamic girl, if you consider they have married, then which law will apply? Vijay, if a Hindu boy and a Islamic girl marry, which law will be applied in case of any dispute between them? Like, for example, if they go for divorce. Which act? Very good, right? So, three options will be there. First thing is, under which law they have got married. Okay? So, Hindu Marriage Act, the Hindu Marriage Act provisions of it. Or Islamic is Islamic. But if they marry under Special Marriage Act ever goes interreligious, intercaste persons, okay? Because during any particular law, if you see Hindu Marriage Act, there is a concept that you need to follow Saptapadi. So then ceremonial things have to be followed, right? Right? If you see, recently also there is a court filed in Delhi High Court. What happened is they didn't follow strict the ceremonious things and all in the part of marriage. Like, you know, in North India there will be this holy fire, everything and all, okay? So they'll exchange the garlands and Agni, something will be there, right? As part of ceremonial rituals and all. So what actually happened is they didn't fulfill all those things. They just exchanged their garlands. So they at the time they have taken photographs and they considered that they had got married. Later on they wanted divorce. So they approached the court at the point of time. Then court asked, so under which particular personal law you got your marriage registered? Means they didn't answer anything. So then court asked, what are the things you have followed? They said, we are both Hindu, so you please grant us divorce according to Hindu marriage act. Then court said, so you didn't even follow the practice which needs to be followed under Hindu marriage. Okay, so then how your marriage itself will be validated? When it's not validated, then how we can grant divorce? Right? That's the thing. That means in case of what is mandatory also, if you don't follow that, then that will invalidate the marriage itself. Right? So for that reason, here what is mentioned is, in administering justice, we can have uniformity if you have one law, right? Only one law instead of having different religious laws and all. If you have a uniform law, which is applied for all the communities, So then it is easy for the judges also. Otherwise, they have to remember which section under Hindu Marriage Act, which section under Islamic law. Yes, think the position of the judges. They have to remember all the sections, different things and all. It becomes easy for them also if they have uniform civil code. So then women's rights. So as we have seen triple talaq case, women's rights will be most discriminated. So this will eliminate this type of thing. And secularism. So what actually happened in this case is this Ahmed Khan and Shah Banu, both are wife and husband, almost for after 40 years of marriage. So he has said talaq. Okay, and he said, I'm not going to give any maintenance. Right? Maintenance, alimony has to be given after divorce and all. So then he said some amount will be given, but after 40 years of marriage and having 5 children, at that point of time he said around 500 rupees or something I'll give as maintenance, and that is only for 3 months after divorce. So will that suffice? So then she approached district court, then on hierarchy, high court, then finally it went to Supreme Court. Then what Supreme Court said is you have to grant maintenance. So under section 125 of CRP, right? There is a provision under section 125 of CRP that you need to pay maintenance to the persons who are getting divorced. That means the wife especially. When they are in a position when they are unable to earn themselves, right? So for example, if they are not in a position to find self-employed and or something, then at that point of time, they have to pay alimony or maintenance to the house, right? But what actually this person said, I'm not in a position to pay whatever you decide and all. So you please grant me an exception. And he also cited, I'm having my religious freedom. Okay, so I am an Islamic person. So Shariat law will only apply to me, and you are applying section 125 of CRP, right? My fundamental freedom of religion is getting violated. According to Shariat law, one needs to pay maintenance only for 3 months after the divorce, right? So he said, I'm ready to pay for 3 months only, but I'm not going to pay anything more than that. But this person is citing, I have my freedom of religion according to Shariat only 3 months, so that is only I'll pay. But then what Supreme Court said is, irrespective of your religion, CRP says applied for everyone, you have to pay, right? For the first time, they said it is this thing which will prevail over your personal law. At that point of time, what happened? All the Muslim persons, okay, they have protested and all. So immediately at that point of time, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister in 1986. So he immediately, to cut down or to calm down all the protesters and all, he has passed a bill in the Parliament saying Muslim Protection of Women's Rights Act 1986. Saying that one person of Islamic religion has to pay only for 3 months maintenance. Okay, only for 3 months will be sufficient. You need not pay, because again to calm down the resentment in the society, he passed that particular bill. But today, in the recent times, also Supreme Court has said clearly section 125 of CRPC applies to everyone. Okay, that means in case if a person is asking for maintenance, on what grounds court will grant how much has to be paid, means based on the paying ability of the person, how much he is earning, that person, male person, and what is his financial status, and only if that particular female who is asking for maintenance is not in the second marriage, right? So if she marries second one and if she asks alimony from the first one, that will not be applicable, okay? So she could not marry another one. Till then only she can get the maintenance, right? And if she is not having any like adultery type of relationships and all, and if she is not voluntarily moving out of this relationship, then only this maintenance provisions will apply, right? So it depends case to case basis. The quantum of maintenance, how much is being granted, will be changed, right? It doesn't specify that only this much amount you have to pay. It depends on the case to case, right? And another thing, interestingly, what actually happened is in the maintenance, recently court said even for live-in relationships also one need to pay maintenance. Okay, so the burden is on whom? Males. Okay, so any decision always men. So men superior annappudu maintenance lo kuda superior ga untaru, right? So you need to take the burden. Okay, so elanti relationship aina they have to pay maintenance, right? Whether it is a legal wedlock or even live-in relationship, also Supreme Court said one needs to pay maintenance. Okay, then it also promotes national spirit. Okay, when you have uniform law, that means you are all united as a nation. That spirit also will be promoted. Then what are the arguments opposing uniform civil code? Plurality. Plurality means multiple laws are there, so you cannot ensure there will be uniformity. So you cannot ensure one nation, one law. That is not that easy when you have multiple religions in the form of Islam. Then issues. What are the issues in implementation? If you bring a uniform civil code, it's not that easy, no? Because see, for example, if you bring a law also, okay, which is uniform, then you also have your fundamental freedom of religion 25 to 28, which is trying to protect your secular character. That always get in contravention with these provisions. So in implementation also, courts will have to face that headache. Okay, so which one have to be upheld? And that point of time it becomes an issue. Then challenge for the law and order also. Sometimes riots can also happen when you are trying to bring such uniform civil code and all. Minorities will feel our religious freedoms are getting threatened. So that may disturb the law and order. Then it is also against the constitutional provisions, especially 25 and 26, which are giving you freedom of religion in 6th schedule also. 6th schedule in the sense in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram, where we have different administrative mechanism. There, 5 we are classifying only 4 states under this particular 6th schedule because they have more than 90% of their population as tribals, right? So these people have to protect their cultural identity. For that reason, they are not applying our general administrative system to these areas. So when you are trying to bring a uniform law, again, this may again disturb the cultural identity of the 6th schedule tribal people. So that's also a challenge. Then fear among the minorities. Appeasement or fear also can be there. Plus, we are losing our rights and all. That may also be a problem in future. Then what is the conclusion? What you can suggest? When a question is asked about uniform civil code in mains, what would you conclude in the answer? Is it desirable? Okay. So recently, even when Supreme Court asked, so Law Commission also said uniform civil code is actually desirable, but not at this moment. Okay, that is what the Law Commission recommendation with respect to uniform civil code. You can remove Law Commission and you can write the same point. Okay, so no one is going to question. So you can write, although it is desirable, but as it is a sensitive matter, it requires a lot of consultation with all the stakeholders. Then anything which is through consensus has to be adopted. In that way, you have to end in a positive mood. You cannot say in favor or you cannot say against. Right? That is the way. Then what type of body is Law Commission? Is it a constitutional body, statutory body, or what? It's an executive body. Okay? It's not a constitutional body, not a statutory body. It's just established by executive resolution of the cabinet. It will be appointed for 3-year tenure. Okay? So what is the main job of Law Commission? To recommend regarding any law, right? If there is any new law which we aspire to bring, like for example, uniform civil code, it will suggest what can be done, what can be the provisions, or if there is any legal related recommendations also that can be provided by Law Commission. When was the first Law Commission created? 1833, Charter Act, if you have remembered. Lord Macaulay, he was the first chairman of Law Commission, right? So these are the things which you need to keep in mind. Answer this question. Uniform Civil Code is part of the directive principles of state policy. These principles are non-justiciable in nature. Next topic. Goa doesn't have it. Why do you need a high court? It has its jurisdiction in another high court. Then what is the problem? Goa cases will be decided by another bench of Maharashtra High Court. They'll look according to the Goa High Court, Goa Uniform Civil Code, what is the Portuguese code we have of 1867. According to that only they'll interpret. Okay. The next topic, which is very much important for you people, is lateral entry, right? So you people are working so hard from morning to evening, and suddenly UPSC have got a notification of granting lateral entry, right? So they're trying to put all your efforts at stake. Yes or no? Yes or no? Because of keeping you people in mind, they have again revoked the decision of implementing the lateral entry. So what is the lateral entry? So recruitment of some persons for middle, okay, so hierarchy you can say, that means not at the topmost and not at the bottommost, at the middle hierarchy you can say. So if someone is recruited, especially for a short tenure, and you have to keep in mind most important is it is contractual only, a short term basis, it's not for long. Once appointed, they won't continue for long, only for 3 years or maximum 5 years period only they'll be in office. Then what is the need actually? Because lifetime bureaucrats, they are having recruited almost, you can say they are recruited at the age of 21 to 32 maximum, right? Latest transfer. And they will pass the examination at 21 or 32. Then later on, they'll not pass any other examinations. They'll take it for granted. They'll misuse the position also like Pooja Ketkar. Yes or no? So anything can happen anytime, right? For that reason, there need to be a check on these people. That is through lateral entry. Yes or no? One form or another is correct only, right? But what is actual need? That's not the actual need. So what is the main need is to bring expertise or the persons who are specialized in one particular field. For example, if you are posted as a secretary to telecommunications department, okay? Telecommunications means you need to have some knowledge about the networks, how the allocation of spectrum will be done and everything, right? But if you see generally as part of UPSC preparation, if you are not an engineer also, you don't read much about telecommunications, just in general perspective you'll be learning. But how you can manage a department which is under you at that point of time, right? In that context, if you see, the person who is specialized actually in telecommunications can serve better than you. So for that reason, this concept of lateral entry was proposed many times, right? So this was existing even before this concept. Like recent government is implementing this much better, but previously also there is such similar concept existing. So first thing is, what is lateral entry? Recruitment of professionals from the private. Okay, these are not actual part of bureaucracy. So from private or NGOs or anywhere, we are taking them at the middle and senior level management. What is the middle and senior level management? At the director level, deputy secretary and joint secretary. Joint secretary is the third most in the hierarchy. Okay, so in these positions, if you are recruiting anyone from the private, we call it as a lateral entry. Okay, so then what is the aim here? To bring in specialized skills and expertise. Expertise, if that person is having good knowledge in one particular sector, he can be recruited into secretary position of the particular area. In that way, he can have better expertise and knowledge regarding the particular field. And if you see, this is done only on contractual basis. It's not for permanent. Then what is the background? Different committees have recommended that lateral entry can be done. So one such committee is Constitution Review Commission of 2002. So in 2002, M. Venkatachalaya Commission was appointed to review the constitution, whether there is any need to change the constitution at that point of time. Because in 1950, we have enacted our constitution almost after 50 years. We thought, is there any need? Okay, at that point of time, they said major things, they have given certain recommendations, okay, what can be changed and all, but none of them were mostly implemented. That's a different story, but this particular commission also said lateral entry can be introduced, right? Then same is the case with second ERC. Second ERC. ERC means Administrative Reforms Commission. This was headed by M. Veerappa Moily, a Congress leader of that point of time. Veerappa Moily. So first ARC was appointed under Morarji Desai, which is second Reforms Commission. In 2005, it was appointed under Veerappa Moily. So this commission also recommended that lateral entry can be done. Then we have Niti Aayog in 2018, when it presented 3-year action agenda also, it has even recommended for lateral entry, right? So based on these recommendations, government said we are trying to recruit the persons of the middle and senior most level. Then the process of lateral entry, what happens? There won't be any examination here. Okay, like you people are fearing the difficult examination, they don't fear, right? So what actually happens is an advertisement of lateral entry will be given. Okay, so by UPSC, then application process will be done. So after application, they'll call for interview, scrutiny and all. Then they'll based on the persons, okay, who are qualified and all, they'll take into the particular post. So there is no concept of examination or there is no concept of reservations also. Now in UPSC, you know, in many fields we have, like for example, in the terms of attempts we have, in terms of age we have, in marks secured also, there is reservation. But there is no such concept in lateral. Then how many appointments were done so far? Till now, from 2018, then we have in 2021, and then we have in 2023. 3 notifications were issued under the current government, NDA government, and they have recruited 63 members to lateral. Okay, so far. Now they have withdrawn the 45 notifications. Okay? So this is the strength. Then what is the rationale behind why you are bringing this is need for specialists in fresh talent, because you people become old at the point of time and they want fresh people. Okay. Then meeting the shortage of personnel. That is what the main thing that center is citing all the time when there is a backlash against this lateral entry. What center is citing is we need almost 1400 IAS officers. When you need 1400 IAS officers, how much is the notification vacancy you are listing every year? 700, 800, 900. Then why are you not in that particular notification also? If you see, maximum 180 will be IAS officers. But you want 1400 IAS officers in total currently. But why are you not listing those many vacancies, please? What is central government stand? They are saying, as we don't have that much training ability, that means in Labas now, we can only train 180 persons at one point of time. So they can include this phase-wise training. You can send batch 1, then you can include batch 2. When there is a bill, there is a way. But this is not considered by UPSC or the central government also. They are citing, we want these many, but as we have limited training capacities and all, currently we only have 442 IAS officers in the country. So to bridge this particular gap, okay, without much training, without much expenditure, because on your training and everything, almost UPSC spends 1 to 1.5 crore on an individual, right? You know, not UPSC, central government, DOPT. 1.5 crore will be spent on any individual. Enti? Right. It's true, right? So మీరు చూస్తే మీకు వెళ్ళినప్పటి నుంచి అకామిడేషన్ ఎంత 5-star ఫెసిలిటీస్ ఉంటాయి. ఏం నిజం చెప్తున్నాను, అబద్ధం కాదు. భారత్ దర్శన్ అని మీకు ఫ్లైట్స్ లో ఇండియా మొత్తం టూర్ చేపించి ఫారిన్ తీసుకెళ్లి అంత ఖర్చు మీరు ఇస్తున్నారా ఏంటి? అంటే మళ్ళీ నేను ట్యాక్స్ పే చేస్తాను, ఆ లాజిక్స్ వద్దు. ఓకే, సో సెంటర్స్ లాజిక్ ఇస్ ఇట్ ఇస్ స్పెండింగ్ 1 to 1.5 crore. ఈ మంచి మీకు తెలియదేమో. One of the IAS officer suddenly he has taken voluntary BRS తీసుకుంటే, then central government asked him to pay 1 crore because మేము అంత స్పెండ్ చేసామని. So if you have any other thought, keep this in mind. Okay, first 1 crore ready చేసుకుని that, then take the decision. Okay, so Roman Saini also, you know Roman Saini, no, Unacademy founder. So he got into IAS and later he resigned and he started different things. At that point of time also there was so much criticism. We are spending this much amount of money and suddenly he left his job, right? So that is the money again getting wasted and all. That's a different story. Then what actually happened is Bus 1 committee. So in interview also Bus 1 board is considered to be very strict board, right? So Bus 1 committee. So in 2016 what it has said is larger states especially, they're not showing any acceptance or they're not willing to send their own IAS officers on deputation to the center, right? So we want, the center is saying, we want these many IAS officers. All these IAS officers will work under states only, no? Although they're recruited by center, they're working under the state, administratively controlled by the state. But when center wants IAS officers, under deputation you have to be sent to the center. But these states are not willing actually. When we want IAS officers, those are not sending IAS officers on deputation. So that is also creating some problem. So last year with respect to this deputation also there is so much controversy between center and different states, right? So they're not sending, that's the main complaint. Then vacancies. Deputation means you will leave your state cadre for some time, at least for 5 years or something, and you'll work under central government. So even IAS officers also don't show their willingness to do. ఎందుకంటే ఇక్కడ మీరు కార్డ్ డోర్ తీయాలన్నా ఎవరో ఒకళ్ళు ఉంటారు, అక్కడైతే మీ ఫైల్ మీరే మోసుకోవాలి, సెంట్రల్ డెప్యుటేషన్, రైట్? బికాస్ అట్ దట్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్ ఇన్ ఢిల్లీ యూఆర్ అన్ ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్, ఐఏఎస్ ఆఫీసర్ అంటారు. బట్ ఇక్కడ దట్స్ ఇట్, యు నో, రైట్? సో దట్ ఈస్ వై even IAS officers are also not willing to go on deputation. right? That's the thing actually. See, మీకు తెలుస్తుందో లేదో, like when there is a change in government, BRS government వెళ్ళిపోయి కాంగ్రెస్ వచ్చినప్పుడు there are allegations that స్మితా సబర్వాల్ డెప్యుటేషన్ మీద వెళ్ళిపోతుంది అని. That means she's pro నేను అదేంటి వద్దులే మళ్ళీ, ఓకే, ట్విట్టర్ లో మళ్ళీ వార్ స్టార్ట్ చేశారు అనుకోండి. So what actually happens is at the point of time, okay, so she was considered to be pro previous government, so in favor. So at the point of time when there's change in government, so generally ఏం చేస్తారు, ఆ టైంలో ఫేవర్ గా ఉన్న వాళ్ళందరి మీద వీళ్ళు తీసి పక్కన పడేస్తారు, రైట్? సో ఫర్ దట్ రీజన్ ఆ టైంలో ఏంటంటే ఒకసారి లైమ్ లైట్ లోకి వచ్చి పాపులర్ సెలబ్రిటీ లాగా మొత్తం కంట్రోల్ చేసిన వాళ్ళు అండర్ అన్నోన్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్, అక్కడ ఐఏఎస్ కూడా ఉంటారా అని తెలియని చోట వర్క్ చేయాలంటే ఎవ్రీథింగ్ విల్ బి డిఫికల్ట్, రైట్? సో ఆ టైంలో వాళ్ళకు ఉండే ఆప్షన్ ఏంటి, సెంట్రల్ డెప్యుటేషన్ కి అప్లై చేస్తారు. దిల్ గో 5 years అక్కడ అయిపోతుంది, ఇంకా చేంజ్ ఇన్ గవర్నమెంట్ వస్తే మళ్ళీ వస్తారు, ఆర్ దే గెట్ ఎక్స్టెండెడ్. దట్స్ ద థింగ్. అందుకని మీకు ఏమర్థమైంది ఇప్పుడు, ఏ గవర్నమెంట్ కి ఫేవర్ గా ఉండకూడదు అనే లాజిక్ ఇప్పుడు చెప్పింది అందుకని, ఓకే? సో ఎవరు ఎక్కువ ఇస్తే వాళ్ళ సైడ్ కాదు, ఓకే? దెన్ స్ట్రెంథనింగ్ ఆఫ్ పార్టిసిపేటరీ గవర్నమెంట్. Participatory means, say if you are only recruited at the bureaucratic level, then only we'll be having public orientation in mind. Okay, so some things may get diluted, but when you are ensuring this lateral entry, there can be some private persons also getting into the administration, as well as some persons who are actually NGOs. For example, if some person is there who is actually service oriented, but at that point of time, due to different reasons, he did not focus on civil service, but he actually had the intention of serving and all. So later at this point of time, like for example of 45 or 50 years of age, so he had a good experience in serving the people, and then, right? So through that particular thing, we can bring him into lateral entry and we can make his decision making also into account, right? Yes or no? In that way, this gives an opportunity. Then improvement of governance, right? So this also can be improved, and it also promotes a healthy competition. If lateral entry is there, IS officers will be in check. Yes or no? Otherwise, it will become like a monopoly. Yes or no? That's the main thing. Then global practices, if you see, this is not a new concept only in India. We have many countries like USA is there, France is there. Many countries, they have this permanent type of lateral entry system. But in some countries like UK and Ireland, they are granting this lateral entry based on work experience. Okay, so whoever the persons are having good experience in private and all, who have done something significantly different, so for them they are giving such opportunities. So this is not new to India, right? Then what are the criticisms? Okay, so first thing is ambiguity in the recruitment process. Ambiguity means there is no clear-cut methodology through which you are recruiting. For you, it is prelims, mains, interview. Again, if you miss in the interview, also you have to start from the beginning. So difficult for you. But for them, without examination, they are giving that post. So it is completely ambiguous, right? Or no transparency. For whom you will be giving that post, how you are going to give, you don't know. I can recommend, if I am the minister, I can recommend my own person to get into lateral entry. There is no qualification here, right? So that's the main. Then no reservations. You know, in UPSC they have reservations. That means you are depriving the backward sections and the repressed classes from the concept of this. And lack of familiarity with the bureaucratic process. So these processes, how do they know, right? Once if you are trained, what actually will be there, you will be under probation. That is what the case of Pooja Kate. At the time she asked all the benefits and facilities, no? She's under probation. You don't even have a own car, own bungalow also at the point of time. So under probation, if you are posted as an SP, let us consider you got into IPS. Under probation, what is the period of or nature of work you will be doing? You have to start from the constable level, right? So for some days you need to work as a constable. In IPS to select a constable and after question because you need to know what is the nature of work, right? So how they have to do, what is the, they have to do and all. Then only you can maintain that hierarchy, yes or no? Then for some days like an SI, then CI, then DSP, ASP. That is the first posting you will be getting, ASP, right? Assistant Superintendent of Police. So in that way, you have to start. That means you are going through all this as part of your training and probation. You will be knowing different things which are at the ground level. But these persons suddenly come in, how they know what is the hierarchy, who is doing which type of work and all. They may not have idea. When they get that idea, they may have their tenure ended. Yes or no? If UPSC journey తెలుసుకోవడానికి 1 year పడుతుంది. Hard fact, right? So then, conflict of interest may also be there. If I am the managing director of one company and I have applied for lateral entry and I got into, then using my position and power now, can I benefit my company or not? How can you ensure that there won't be any conflict of interest here? Right? My individual interest will be important, right? Than public interest for any person, right? Until unless they are again from planet B. Yes or no? Then discouraging the motivated civil servants like you people, that will be a major discouragement. Then short tenure and the impact, right? So they'll only be recruited for shortest tenure, 3 years or maximum 5 years. So in 3 years and 5 years, what type of impact they'll create on the society? Not very much, right? So very less impact will be created. For that you need to again do all this process. So this is not good. Okay, these are the criticisms or you can say the factors against. Then what can be the conclusion? అంటే మీకు ఫేవర్ గా చెప్తున్నావు కన్క్లూజన్, అవునా కదా? ఎక్కువ వేకెన్సీస్ ఇవ్వాలంటే యు ఆర్ సేయింగ్ ఇన్ యువర్ ఫేవర్. సరే వాళ్ళకు ట్రైనింగ్ ఇద్దామంటారు, అప్పుడు ఓకేనా? So transparency in recruitment has to be done. Then reservations, in case if they have to implement, there should be reservations also. Then all the stress you are undergoing, they also have to face. Yes or no? Eye for eye. Then అక్కడ కూడా వెరీ యూనిక్ సొల్యూషన్. ఓకే, ఓన్లీ హూ హ్యావ్ ఫెయిల్డ్ ఇన్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ వాళ్ళకి ఛాన్స్ ఇవ్వాలంట lateral entry లో. సో షీ ఈస్ రిజర్వింగ్ ద థింగ్స్ ఫర్ యూ పీపుల్ ఓన్లీ. ఓకే, సో దెన్ ఇంకా దట్స్ గుడ్. Not at the decision making level, right? So these people are not just as advisors. Now they're recruited as the decision makers, right? So almost controlling the entire department as a joint secretary. That's not a feasible solution, right? ఇంకా మీరు ఇక్కడ క్రిటిసిజం చూస్తే దాంట్లో పాజిటివ్ చూడొచ్చు. అదే కన్క్లూజన్. వెరీ గుడ్. మినిమం క్వాలిఫికేషన్స్ అనేవి మెన్షన్. దెన్ ప్రైవేట్ దాన్ని ఎలా సొల్యూషన్ పెట్టాలి? ఆ టైం సింపుల్ బినామీస్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అని అక్కడ కూడా ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేస్తారు. ఆ టైం దీనికి షేర్స్ అనేవి ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేస్తారు, లేకపోతే వాళ్ళ నేమ్ ఇంకో వైఫ్ నేమ్ పెడతారు. నాకు నా వైఫ్ అస్సలు పడదు అంటారు. వాట్ వీ కెన్ డూ? మీరు ఎంతసేపు lateral entry పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూ ఆలోచిస్తున్నారు, కానీ వై డోంట్ యూ థింక్ ఇన్ ట్రెడిషనల్ సివిల్ సర్వెంట్స్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూ? వీళ్ళకి ఇక్కడ మెయిన్ గా ఎందుకు అడ్వైస్ చేస్తున్న lateral entry అంటే ల్యాక్ ఆఫ్ స్కిల్ అండ్ ఎక్స్పర్టైజ్. సో ఫర్ దట్ వాట్ యూ కెన్ సీ, బ్యూరోక్రాట్స్ లోనే స్కిల్లింగ్ అనేది పెంచొచ్చు కదా. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎప్పుడో ఒకసారి లబాస్లో ఒక్కసారి వెళ్తారు మన లైఫ్ లో, మళ్ళీ మధ్య మధ్య ఎప్పుడైనా ఒకసారి వెళ్తారు. అంతకు మించి అలా కాకుండా 5 years కో 10 years కో ఒకసారి మీకు కూడా చిల్ అవుట్ అవుతున్నట్టు ఉంటుంది కదా. సో రోజు లబాస్నాలో అలా 5 years కు 10 years కు ఒకసారి పీరియాడిక్ ట్రైనింగ్ అని పెడితే ఆ ఎక్స్పర్టైజ్ స్కిల్లింగ్ అనేది ఆటోమేటిక్ గా బ్యూరోక్రాట్స్ లోనే వస్తుంది. మరి తలనొప్పి అంతా ఎందుకు? మనం చదవాల్సి రావడం, మళ్ళీ ఇదంతా ఒక క్వశ్చన్ వస్తుందేమో అని ఇవన్నీ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు కదా, రైట్? సో ఇన్ దట్ వే యూ కెన్ రైట్ ద కన్ఫ్యూజన్. దెన్ lateral entry in different departments. It's not only combined. They'll be notifying in which department which particular post is vacant. Based on that, you have to apply. Okay. Almost now in 24 ministries and departments they have issued this notification for 45 vacancies in 24 departments and ministries they have issued. Okay. Any other doubts? Okay. Then next one is SC, taking moto cognizance. If you see all the YouTube or news, everything is covered and centered over a very bad situation that shouldn't happen is Kolkata rape murder case, right? So again, don't bring those emotional aspects here because everyone is not happy with this, what is going on in the Indian society and all. But what actually happened is, moto cognizance is one thing which you need to know from policy point, right? So this is one of the power of the Supreme Court and the High Court also. That means the main job of any judiciary is to interpret the law, right? Interpretation means whether is it according to the constitutional provisions, or did they cross their domain or anything, or is there any violation of fundamental rights? These things have to be checked by judiciary. But sometimes, normally when you have a dispute, only you will be approaching judiciary or courts. But sometimes court may feel that there is some violation of right and I need to interfere in this particular issue. So when it steps down on its own, that is what we call it as suo moto cognizance. That means rather than any person going to court and filing a case, here Supreme Court or High Courts will take the case of their own and then decide whether this is correct or not. So that is what we call it as suo moto cognizance, right? Suo moto means on its own. Cognizance means it will decide the case and not, right? So if you see, that was done in the Kolkata rape murder case. So this is an action taken by any government agency. Suo moto means for some time. Let us consider if you are a bureaucrat or a district collector. Okay. So if you have seen anything related to your district, some problem if you notice in the newspaper and all, you can take it suo moto and you can investigate. Right? You need not receive a complaint. Till then, okay, complaint vachin tarvata chuddam and you will not wait. Right? You have the power to take that particular complaint on your own and investigate. That is also there not only for the courts. Any authority who is government agency or authority, they can start this investigation on their own. That is what we call as suo moto investigation or cognizance. So here court generally takes the suo moto when there is a violation of rights or breach of any particular, whatever the notification that happened or constitutional provisions, if anything happened, at that point of time you can take it suo moto. So under which power means again under Article 32 and Article 226 of Indian Constitution. Article 32 is about writs, right? 226 is for the High Court, right? So under these two, you have a way of filing public interest litigation. Have you heard about this PIL? Okay, public interest litigation. Litigation means, when you file a case, litigation we call it. Public interest means, for example, normally to file a case, you need to be a party to the particular case, yes or no. Either you're complaining against someone or you're becoming the victim, right? So in these situations, only you can file a case. But sometimes, irrespective of what you are a party to the dispute or not, if you feel, for example, if you're passing through one particular road, okay, so they're polluting one particular water body, and you're not the local of the particular area, but you have noticed that that lake is getting polluted by one industry or something, then you can file a public interest litigation saying, in the larger interest of the public, I am filing this case. Okay, so please stop this pollution of water body. In that way, although you are not directly resident of the particular area, that is what we call as public interest litigation. So where did it have its origin? This concept has its origins in USC. Okay, originally this constitution in US Constitution it was part of, and later in India it was introduced by one notable judge. Can anyone name his name? Who was the person credited with introducing this public interest litigation in India? అదే అడుగుతున్నాను నేను. చెప్పు. It's not taught in polity. Yes. Very good. Krishna Iyer. Very important person. Justice Krishna Iyer. So this person has introduced this concept in India, public interest litigation. Okay, so this is considered as a form of judicial activism, right? So there are different concepts like judicial review, judicial activism, judicial overreach, right? So what is judicial review? That is there according to the constitution only. That means under Article 13, in case if there is any infringement of your fundamental right or if there is any violation of constitutional provision, then courts can step in and they can check, right? That is inherently there under Article 13 for Supreme Court and High Courts. So, but what is judicial activism? Yes. So, judicial activism means sometimes it becomes active. Judiciary itself becomes active and it can intervene here, like in this particular case, right? Here, you cannot say that it is not domain of judiciary. There is some element of judiciary also involved, but they are taking on their own. That is what we call as judicial activism. Suo moto cognizance is also one form of judicial activism. But on the other side, you have judicial overreach. So what is overreach? Overreach means, yes. So for example, if you see, there are 3 organs of government. So they have to exercise their powers within their domain only. But see, judicial review or activism falls under this ambit only. That means they're not intervening into other ones, right? But judicial overreach means judiciary is stepping into the shoes of legislature and executive and saying that this has to be done and more. That is what we call as judicial overreach, right? So this is one thing you have to understand. These concepts should be learning again. Here you also have to keep in mind P and Bhagavati also. 2 persons. Bhagavati. So these 2 persons are instrumental in bringing this public interest litigation to India. So for this you can take the example judicial overreach, banning of firecrackers in Delhi. Right? So you know every winter Delhi pollution will be there at the point of time. Supreme Court has issued a notice or judgment you can say saying that you cannot lit any firecrackers in Delhi to control pollution. But who have to do actually that particular thing? It's the executive or Parliament has to pass a law or Delhi Assembly has to pass a law. That means it's not the actual job of executive judiciary, but it has stepped into the shoes of legislative and executive. So it is nothing but a judicial overreach, right? Judicial activism means when there is a scope of judicial intervention, then Supreme Court or High Courts are involving in the particular thing, but they are taking on their own. That is what we call it as judicial activism, right? So these are the certain things. So here it is a judicial activism, so moto cognition, right? Then what can be listed under PIL? Okay, so wife and husband Kotkunthar and PIL, that's not public interest. Okay, so certain things are mentioned. So bonded labor marriages, then non-payment of minimum wages to workers. Okay, because bonded labor is also prohibited under Article 23 of Indian Constitution. Then atrocities on women, so Kolkata rape murder case under this category. Environmental pollution in the interest of larger public, food adulteration, then maintenance of heritage and culture. For example, if any historical monument, okay, so for example, Taj Mahal case, if you see, at the point of time also, Supreme Court has intervened, right? In Yamuna river pollution also in Delhi, Supreme Court has intervened. So if any particular water body or heritage, historically important monument which is getting destroyed, then they can intervene and they can say, you can take these measures or you have to take these measures and all. These are all the topics which can be filed under PIL, right? Bonded, that's a form of child labor, bonded labor. Then PIL, if you see, it has increased the scope of sumoto cognizance, right? So as we have now PIL, right? So that means you are broadening the concept of sumoto, right? So in the public interest of the public, Supreme Court can only take on its own. That means the scope of this is increased by the tool of PIL. Then if you see whatever the sumoto actions are there, that is nothing but it's a reflection of judicial activism. So why I have taken this topic is, in case if in UPSC mains they ask you about judicial activism, at that point of time you can write this case where Supreme Court has taken on its own the case of Kolkata rape murder case. So that is also a reflection of public interest litigation of judicial activism. In that way you can cite the current affairs. Then it also tries to promote speedy delivery, yes or no? Until one file a case, you need not wait and you can take it on your own and you can faster solve the case. That means you're trying to deliver the justice at a speedier rate. Then if you see these situations or those, when generally courts take two moto cognizance. One is contempt of court. What is contempt of court? When you are disobeying the orders of the court, or if you are not listening, or if you are scolding the court, for example. Okay, so if you are not, if you are criticizing court, but that has to be healthy or constructively. That means in case if you are lowering the stature of the court, or if you are trying to erode the confidence that public have in the judiciary and all, that also falls under contempt of court. So this is there under Article 129 of Indian Constitution. So there will be civil contempt and criminal contempt that you will learn again in Indian judiciary. Then reopening of old cases. For example, already the case got settled, let us consider, but something new have been found now. Okay, when there is a need, but no one is trying to file that particular case. So then on that particular issue also they can take sumoto cognizance and they can reopen the case and investigate. Then order probes of new cases. So like Calcutta murder case and all. Protection of fundamental rights also can be one reason, and matters of public interest. So in all these issues, they can take any sumoto cognizance, right? So previously, if you have seen, these are the instances. During COVID-19, migrant workers have suffered so much, right? Lack of transportation, lockdown and everything. At that point of time also, sumoto they have taken in. They have said migrant workers have to be taken care by the central government. Then only they have initiated certain measures, right? Then environmental protection. Bhopal gas tragedy, you have seen. in 1984 on 2nd or 3rd December, methyl isocyanate gas was released suddenly, and so many persons who are living in the vicinity of the industry, they got killed, and many of the persons who got victimized also. At the point of time also, they have taken on their own moto cognizance and they have given compensation. Again, that was also controversial. But then human rights violation, right? So in any riots or sometime, if there is a violation of human rights also, most of the time, for example, in jails also, if you see, overcrowding of prisons happen under trials, right? So for example, you can take the case of custodial torture, right? Any person dying in the custody, at that point of time also court will take cognizance, because in any person dying in the custody is nothing but reflection of police failure only. No? Police means if you state, then who will file a case again? They just consider the victim doesn't have any much support to file a case and financial support also. Then they'll stop from filing a case. They'll think, okay, vachinappude ostadu jail nunchi annattu వాళ్ళు wait cheyొచ్చు. But at the point of time, court may take it as a suo moto and they can fight this particular. These are all the cases when Supreme Court has intervened. Then what is the criticism? It was criticized as being overreached by the judicial. Okay, overreached means some people. Okay, so for example, Mamata Banerjee. So it is a failure of West Bengal government, no clear cut. But what she is saying, I'm conducting good investigation. Courts have actually have no right to investigate or no right to say this and all. In that way, they say this as a judicial overreach. But for us, it is judicial activity. So it depends on the particular context. Then, next topic we are discussing is India-Japan 2+2 dialogue. Okay. So recently this was held between India and Japan. So first thing you need to know the location of Japan, right? So you know Japan is an island country. It is part of Asia, especially East Asia, right? So then if you see here, we have Sea of Japan, which is also East Sea. Then we have the Pacific Ocean, right? And we have here East China Sea, below which we have South China Sea, Philippine Sea and all, right? Why? Because if you see this region entirely, we call it as Pacific Ring of Fire, right? In geography, you might have studied Pacific Ring of Fire. Yes or no? So what is this region famous for? Volcanoes, earthquakes and all, right? Why? Because at this particular junction only we have many plates getting converged, right? So because of that reason, it is tectonically active and seismically also active. For that reason, almost if you see every 3 months or so, Japan will have some type of earthquake or volcanism noticed there, right? So in that way, it is very close. So then if you see here, we have, what is this country? South Korea, this is North Korea, here Russia, here you have China, this side. Okay, below you have Philippines. So these are the boundaries. But if you see, here North Korea and South Korea separated by 38-degree parallel. That means 38 latitude. Latitude 38 is going to separate this North Korea and South Korea. That's the main thing you have to keep in mind. Then what is the point of discussion? Recently, India and Japan, two governments have engaged in 2+2 dialogue. What is the meaning of 2+2? Very good. So foreign ministers and defense ministers of this side and this side, they'll be meeting each other and they'll be discussing on bilateral discussions, right? Foreign ministers means external affairs minister and defense ministers of both the countries. Ministries also, or it can be secretaries also, right? Any of them can meet and they can discuss through this dialogue. So currently India had this mechanism with Japan, US, Australia. Okay, so with Russia also we had, but these are all Quad countries. Quad is an informal grouping, quadrilateral dialogue we call. Quad means four, informal grouping of India, US, Japan, Australia. With Russia also we have 2+2, right? That is also you have to keep in mind. Then this is a third dialogue between India and Japan. Right? And then what is it I told you? Then objective is again to discuss on wider range of topics, which are common topics for both the countries. Based on that, like for example, defense, security, strategic things and all, they'll be having some discussions and they'll come on common outcomes. So then what is the highlight of this dialogue? Present, if you see, more focus on defense, right? So what is the bilateral exercise between India and Japan? Dharmatagyan, that is a bilateral exercise between India and Japan. Indian Army and Japanese Army conduct this particular exercise. Navy. You can say it's not army. Maybe Shinju might be also be that. Okay, so these are the exercises between India and Japan. Then free open Indo-Pacific. Okay, so we have seen Indian Ocean of India, Pacific Ocean of Japan. Both are equally important for both the countries, and you see in the recent times in the Indo-Pacific region, China is increasing its presence. So for that reason, we are saying free because China and Russia, but China and Japan also have some territorial disputes in terms of Pacific Ocean and all, Senkaku Islands and all. Okay, so some disputes are there. So they're calling for free, open Indo-Pacific. Okay, without any restrictions and trades. Then rules-based order to counter China's assertiveness, because you know in South China Sea, China is trying to dominate and it is saying that all the sea belongs to me and all. It is trying to construct artificial islands and all. So in that way, we are trying to ensure that there will be rules-based order. Rules-based order means everything has to be according to the law. Which law is governing the universal laws of seas? UNCLOS, okay, or UNCLOS. United Nations Convention on Law of Sea. Okay, that is the UN law that is governing the seas, right? So that has to be upheld. Then special strategic and global partnership is there between India and Japan. So this is since 2000 we have. In other countries I told you, US, Australia and Japan and Russia also we have. Then what is the importance? We can engage comprehensively in different border ways, right? Then it can be strategic alignment also on what or the common issues or common topics where we are facing some troubles like China. China is the main thing which is common for both India and Japan. So those things can be better settled through strategic alignment, and Indo-Pacific is the main focus of this particular discussion. Then in general, if you see, India and Japan had historical ties and all, but still if you see, one element is cultural tie in the form of Buddhism, right? But if you see in the recent times, Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor and Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed bullet train, right? So all these things are also funded by Japan. And if you know, Japan is the leading country in Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank is one of the regional banking, okay? So which was formed as, you know, World Bank and IMF we have. But those are again according to the Western countries' choices and all. So for that reason, we have established this Asian Developmental Bank in 1966. This was mainly like established by Japan, which is the largest shareholder in this particular thing. And India is also member. Asian Developmental Bank. Okay, India is also member in this. Almost fourth largest shareholder, you can say. This is headquartered in Manila, Philippines. Although it was established by Japan, okay, but it was headquartered in Manila, Philippines. To counter ADB only, China has established AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. You know, China and Japan are not so good friends, right? So for that reason, it has established in 2017 Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank to counter ADB, right? So ADB was actually established to again cater the needs of Asian countries especially, because Western countries are getting maximum benefit from World Bank and other things. Okay? Then Asia Africa Growth Corridor. So this was a joint corridor between Japan as well as India to develop Africa. Okay, so because you know India and Japan both are part of Asia, and we wanted to connect our presence in Africa also, because China also started investing developmental projects and all in Africa. Counter China, India and Japan together have started this corridor. There also you can write this. Then we also have a quad grouping, right? Then we also have Malabar exercise, which is a multilateral exercise between US, Japan, Australia and India, right? Then if you see, India and Japan are also part of G4, group of 4 countries who want UNSC reforms, United Nations Security Council reforms, right? You know, in UNSC, which is one of the organ of United Nations, we have 5 countries and 10 non-permanent countries, right? So these P5 countries only are having veto power and they're controlling everything. But all non-permanent countries are again having their membership in UNSC only for 2-year period on rotational basis. India is not having any membership. Same is the case with Japan also. Japan is the very first Asia country which got developed during the colonial times. You know, Even we have established this Indian National Army in Japan, right? Subhash Chandra Bose have operated from Japan itself at the point of time, right? And they also had this aspiration to colonize India, but again that has suffered a defeat in the World War II, right? Because of that, it has withdrawn its aspirations to colonize India and all. So in that way, we have certain things, but these are the recent things which you can write in case if a question is asked on India and Japan ties regarding IR, right? Then next topic we have is ethanol blend. So what is the point of discussion? India is trying to introduce and it is trying to increase its blending, ethanol blending in petrol, right? Ethanol is a biofuel. What is a biofuel? Any fuel which is derived from living organisms, okay? It can be any microorganism or it can be any biostock or seed, you can say, okay? So that we call it as a biofuel. So we are trying to increase the percentage of ethanol in petrol. So that in that particular thing we are aspiring and we are on the course. That is what the article is highlighting here. So what is the target now? E20 means ethanol, 20% ethanol will be blended in 80% petrol. Okay. That means in 100 units, 80 units will be of petrol and 20 units will be filled with ethanol, right? So we wanted to reach this particular 20% target, which we call as E20 by 2030. So this is initial target as we have outlined in National Policy on Biofuels. But now this target was preponed to 2025 by the Prime Minister of India. Okay. So currently, before when we have launched this policy, National Policy on Biofuels in 2018, we have initially kept a target of 20% ethanol blending by 2030. Currently, we had only 10%, okay, ethanol blending in our petrol, but we wanted to increase this to 20 by 2030. But now this was preponed to 2025 earlier on. Okay, so that's the thing you have to keep. Then what's the issue if everything is going on good? The main debate is there here now between food and fuel. You know, biofuels are again generated from food sources also. So if you are trying to increase the share of ethanol blending, there can be diversion of food sources to fuel that may create some food scarcity also in future, right? That is the main thing which government has to take care, right? That has actually created this debate. Then what is ethanol blending? Origins, when we have started is in 2003. First time we started blending of ethanol from 2003 onwards. Then what is the objective? Main objective to decrease the pollution, to decrease our imports. Yes or no? Petrol, almost 80% of our needs is filled from imports itself. We are importing from many countries, right? So for that reason, we wanted to decrease our foreign exchange also, and we also wanted to save money, and we also want to decrease the pollution, right? For that reason, we have started this ethanol blending. So what are the sources of this biofuel? It can be from sugarcane, maize, or any surplus food grain, like or even damaged crop also. So generally, if you see, biofuels will be of 4 generations. We have discussed, right? 4 generations. First generation is from edible or food sources like sugarcane, maize, and all, which can be eaten, right? Then second generation, non-edible. So when they have introduced this first generation, what happened? Most of the food got diverted from food grain market to fuel market. That means it has artificially created some scarcity of food grains. So then government has corrected this. Oh no, you cannot go for first generation. You have to go for second generation, where you are focusing only on non-edible things, means which you cannot eat, like damaged crops, broken rice, rotten potatoes. So from them also you can use this and generate this second generation. For example, if you see RUCO initiative, I told you of FSA in science and technology, part 6 students. Reusable cooking oil initiative. Okay, so you know, every day you will be eating all those budgets and everything. No, they'll be frying again the same oil, right? So healthy oil. So what FSSAI has done, when 2 times or more, if you reheat the oil, it becomes carcinogenic. For that reason, they're buying this reused oil from the local vendors and all, and they're converting it into biodiesel format. So that falls under 2G, second generation, non-edible, because that is not good for your health. Then third generation, very good, from algae. Also biofuel can be generated. That is the third generation. Fourth generation from genetically modified crops, GM crops. In this way, we have many generations of biofuel. Okay. Then you can see here. These are the things which I mentioned. Okay, edible, leftover or non-edible things from microorganisms like algae, and you have genetically engineered crops. 4 generations you have here. And what is the advantage here? High carbon content, greenhouse gases may be released, but here they will have lesser compared to the first generation. And here it is carbon neutral because algae, it will sequester carbon again back into the earth. Then carbon negative. You don't release anything in GM crops. So then if you see, these are common biofuels, bioethanol. This is what we blend in petrol. Biodiesel gets blended in diesel. Okay. Then biogas, which can be used for cooking all these things, right? Syngas and all. In this way, commonly we have these type of things, right? From municipal waste also they generate in biogas. Right? Then importance is, what is the main importance of ethanol blending? It will meet our energy needs, right? So suddenly we have seen when Russia-Ukraine war happened. Russia is also one of the oil producers, right? So suddenly when Russia-Ukraine war happened, even a sunflower oil prices also have increased because they're importing sunflower oil from Russia and Ukraine more, right? Suddenly that has led to increase in sunflower oil prices also. Not only that, even petrol prices also have increased. After Israel-Hamas war, Red Sea attacks also, it has increased the rate of petrol. So when we are dependent on many other countries, any geopolitical tension can increase the prices. At that point of time, we need to bear that particular cost. Yes or no? For those reasons, it is better we have to decrease the import quantity and all. What is alternative? When you blend more ethanol, which is self-sufficient in your country, then we can save our imports. We need not depend on any other country during this time. Then import substitution, you can save your imports, you can decrease your imports. Then reduction of emissions. It is observed when you blend ethanol, 50% less emissions will be released from 2-wheelers and 30% from 4-wheelers. That is the level of pollution reduction was observed accordingly. Then enhancing the rural economy. When you are generating ethanol, that is also trying to create an employment, and it will also create some economy also. Farmers also will get from the waste, sugarcane molasses if you see. After generating all the juice or everything, that waste also can be used to generate this ethanol and all, right? In that way, they can have more income. Farmers' income can also be increased. So these are all the advantages of importance of blending ethanol. Then challenges. If you see the challenges, so there is in the recent times maize, that is not sufficient for us itself. That means for our consumption only, we don't have sufficient amount of maize. But for ethanol, again, you need to import and then convert into ethanol. That means again, it is also increasing the cost. Yes or no? So this is becoming a challenge. Then states are focusing more on using ethanol for liquor. Okay, liquor is lucrative for the states, good revenue, right? So rather than using it for ethanol as a fuel, they're using it for generation of liquor. That's the main challenge. Then modification of existing petrol engines. When you're blending ethanol, engines also, internal combustion engines, which we use in our 2-wheelers, 4-wheelers and all, they also have to get modified, right? So that's also a technical thing. Food security also can be at stake. For example, if you're diverting all the food to ethanol, then it can be an issue. Then diversion of agricultural land, right? Agricultural land can be diverted instead of generating food grains. They can divert for ethanol and all, industries and all. Then impact on water availability. For ethanol blending or ethanol, you need more blend from sugarcane. That's the main thing that is happening in India. Sugarcane is more water intensive crop, right? It takes more water. So at that point of time, it may again trouble our water availability, right? So then impact on soil health. So when you're repeatedly growing only water intensive crops or same type of crop, because you're getting good profits from this ethanol and all, soil health may be again troubled. So all this you need to change the crops, multi-cropping, all these things are advisable, but soil health also can be impacted. So when you see here water availability, India currently holds 18% of the world population, but it only has 4% of the world's freshwater resources. You can understand 18% of India's population has to feed only on 4% of the water resources, so that you can understand how complex is the problem. So next topic we have is illegal mining in Aravallis. So first thing you need to know what is the location of Aravallis. So this is the belt of Aravalli. Okay, Aravallis you might have studied from your schoolbook, right? So these are old fold mountains. Himalayas or young fold mountains and all, right? That means they were existing even before the Himalayas, right? So then through which states they generally pass? 4 states. Okay. So again, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi, 4 states. Okay. So then If you see recently, there is more increase in illegal mining, deforestation, these type of problems are seen in, or encroachments are also seen in Aravalis. Okay, so for that reason, recently discussed in news. So from the point of view, you need to know what is Aravali. Okay, as I told you, old mountains in northwestern India especially, and it is covering the states of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Haryana, and Delhi. So these are the four states. Then what are the rivers, major rivers originating from here? Narmada? No? Very good. Luni? Not Mahi. Sabarmati? Banas? Many other rivers are there, but these are the major rivers. Okay. So Luni, that is an inland river. Inland means normally any river drains into any of the ocean or sea, or it will meet another major river. But this Luni will end up in land only because of the long distance it travels and very less water it catches upon, right? So it will end upon in land only. It doesn't meet any river or it doesn't end up in any sea. For that reason, it's so unique. Then Sabarmati, in Gujarat we have, right? So Banas is a tributary of Chambal, Chambal tributary of Yamuna, Yamuna tributary of Ganga. That's the story, right? All these are originating in Aravalis. Then it is also famous for natural rainfall. So based on African rainfall, which I have mentioned here, we are inspiring from this particular concept and we are trying to implement the same green wall initiative in Aravalis. It's simple. Here in the northern part we have Sahara Desert, right? So which is very arid. And desertification is increasing in the recent times, right? But what is desertification? When land or soil is losing its fertility and it is becoming like a desert, right? So what actually happens is we call it a sub-Saharan area, right? Sub-Sahara means it is bounding this region of Sahara. So this is arid region which is devoid of rainfall and all, but this is semi-arid. Okay, so if you see this desert is expanding like this, and this is also expanding. Okay, that means it is becoming more arid than what it is before. So because of that, what African people have done, especially in these countries, they have started planting trees, especially in this particular belt, which they call it as Great Green Wall. Okay, almost of 4,000 kilometers distance or something, they have planned of planting different trees so that the soil will not lose its fertility and it will not become degraded or desertified. So for that reason, taking inspiration from this, we also planned this Great Green Wall initiative in Aravalis. That means where Aravalis are there, entire region of 1500 kilometers, 1500 or 1600 kilometers, almost of 4 kilometer width. We are planting trees. This is a length and this is a width. I hope you know the difference between length and width. Okay, so that's the thing. Okay, so we are inspiring from that and we are also planting trees again to restore the soil fertility and everything in Aravalis in the nearby region. So that is also one thing we have to keep in mind. Then highest peak, Guru Shikhar in Mount Abu. Okay, so in Rajasthan that is the highest peak. Then Rajasthan accounts for almost 80% of Aravalis and other 20% is in Haryana, Delhi and Gujarat. Then change in the recent times, if you see, what is the main reason is reduction in the forest cover. If you cut down the forest and trees, then what happens? These things happen, right? Then increased human settlement also. We are aspiring more and we are becoming more greedy and there is reduced water bodies also. For that reason, soil is losing its fertility and is becoming more degraded. Expansion of mining activities. This region of Aravalis is famous for dolomite, sandstone, different things. Okay, so for that reason, more mining is happening in this region, which is also disturbing the soil. And then high rate of carbon influx. Influx means it is leaving more carbon than consuming, or you can say than what it is capturing actually. That is also creating this problem. So these have to be addressed. Okay, so then what are the steps taken? So most of the areas declared as ecologically sensitive area. Ecologically sensitive means if you have any national park or protected area, so if this is a national park, so around this region, all this area, 10 kilometers from the national park or wildlife sanctuary will be declared as ecologically sensitive. Here also there will be restrictions, not only within the premises of the national park, but around that particular national park within 10 kilometers in general. Okay, but if it is a larger park, it can be more also. In general, 10 kilometers will be demarcated as ecologically sensitive area, so that there will be certain restrictions on doing certain types of activities. Certain things will be allowed, certain things will not be allowed. Okay, in that period we are trying to ensure that these protected areas also can be conserved well. Otherwise, we'll be started settling here itself. What happens if you are settling there itself? Human-animal conflict will happen again, right? So they don't know, you know, you're encroaching into their territories, and we are saying they are killing us. So that's a problem. So that will be again tackled when you are making them as ecologically sensitive areas. So this is done under Environment Protection Act of 1986, right? Then Great Drain Wall Initiative I told you. So this is the initiative that is being taken recently to restore normalcy in our valleys. Then conclusion, what you can write? Should illegal mining, deforestation, encroachment should be encouraged? No. All these have to be stopped. Okay. So you need to encourage conservation, soil conservation, afforestation related activities. Okay. You need to be more stringent in awarding punishments for those who violate the norms and all. In that way, you have to suggest the conclusion. Then next topic we have is St. Martin's Island. So you can see here, this is the location of St. Martin's Island. This was in news because of Bangladesh crisis and all. So there were some allegations that this USA who was behind this conspiracy of making Sheikh Hasina into trouble and all, because they want this St. Martin's Island. Okay. So what is this island, where it is located? It is in the Bay of Bengal. It is on the border of Bangladesh and Myanmar. Okay. On the edge of Bangladesh, right? There is a Cox's Bazar. In that particular edge, we have the St. Martin's Island. You can see this is the island location. Okay. So this is a coral island. Okay. US wants this to monitor what is going on in this specific region, Indo-Pacific region. For that reason, there were some stories, we don't know how far it is true. They have conspired to remove Sheikh Hasina because she is not in favor of granting this to US on lease or something. So that is why they said because of that only they have fueled that internal conspiracy and all, and they have asked, they have made in a way that Hasina has stepped down. Okay. So now whatever the government that comes in picture of the Sheikh Hasina's house here, that will be again favoring USA, so that they will also help this country and all. In that way, there is something which was suspicious. So this was in the story. Then if you see location, it is in Bay of Bengal region, very close to the border between Bangladesh and Myanmar, right? So here only you have this Rohingya also, Myanmar. Have you heard about Rohingya? Rohingya are ethnic Muslims, right? So Myanmar is a Buddhist state where these people are in minority. What actually happened? They are subjected to ethnic cleansing, right? They are not given even citizenship, no rights, no political rights, no food, no education. So what happened? They started migrating from that particular region to Bangladesh and India also. At that point of time, if you see this Cox's Bazar, which is so nearest to this particular St. Martin's Island, it is considered to be world's largest refugee camp also. World's largest refugee camp, because most of the Myanmar Rohingyas got registered here. So sometimes they can ask you the locations also. St. Martin's Island, Cox's Bazar, both are of Bangladesh and near the Myanmar is border, right? Then it is the southern tip, you can have to keep in mind. In Bangladesh, only coral island. In India, where are the coral islands located? Lakshadweep, only in Lakshadweep. In Andaman also we have coral islands, but most of the Andaman islands are volcanic. Okay, so we have those are tectonic origin, but some islands are also there of coral origin. Maldives, if you see, entirely of coral. Maldives, right? Entire islands of Maldives are coral origin. Right. Then history, if you see, this is once part of this particular peninsula, which was 5,000 years ago submerged actually. Then what actually happened? Entire island got submerged at the point of time, which is part of one kingdom of Southeast Asia. But later on, again after before 440 years from the present time, southern part got again raised up. Okay? So later on, what happened? 100 years ago, the northern part and middle part also got raised up again. So in that way, it got submerged and it again got raised up. How it will happen? The submergence and again, yes. Sea level rise, okay, sea level rise has resulted in submergence. Then again to have the land, we need to have some volcanic eruption. No? If there is volcanic eruption underneath, magma gets, right? So if this is magma, so it will get solidified like this, like this, like this. One day you will see this particular on the surface. This we call it as an island. Yes or no? Volcanic or tectonically active islands will be formed like this. So that means there is some underneath volcanic eruption which has surfaced this particular island. Okay, in that way, one submerged island has again resurfaced in the present times. Then this actual island was actually occupied by Arab merchants. Like even Cochin of India, also Kerala, if you see, the Western Arabian merchants they have settled there. Like for example, Vasco da Gama, when he came also, he first met this Arab merchants. That is why if you see in Lakshadweep, most of the people are still Muslims only. What's the reason? Because most of the traders they got settled in Lakshadweep before they came to India, right? Same way here also, Arab merchants were the first to settle here in this particular island, and they initially named it as Jazira. Jazira means it's an island in their own Arabian language. Then they have changed it to another name which is called as Coconut Island. Okay, so that's the name they have given. Then in 1900s, British, right, when they have ruled India and they're ruling India at the point of time as a colony, they have also annexed this particular island. Okay, Bangladesh is also part of British India at that point of time, right? So that is the reason they also have annexed. After partition, it went into hands of Pakistan until 1947 to 71. It was under Pakistani control as is Pakistan. Then after 71, when Bangladesh got liberation, it also got a separate entity like a Bangladeshi island. Okay. Then here you also need to keep in mind about this Operation Drop Call, which is launched by Indian Army as part of Bangladesh liberation, where we have helped our army in training and also Bangladeshi army in fighting against the Pakistani forces. That operation which India has launched is called Operation Drop Call. Then what is this question answer? Right, if you think. This is related to Bengal partition. At that point of time, Bengal is also Bangladesh, right? That's the reason why I have included this. Partition of Bengal made by Lord Curzon in 1905 lasted until. Option B. Why? Coronated. So first World War I, when Indian troops were needed by the British, did they end this partition? World War I ended in 1918-19 time, right? So that's not till then when we have this partition. So it was announced in 1905 saying that Bengal was too big to administer. That's not the actual reason, but they wanted to divide and rule Bengal. East Bengal they wanted to give for Islamic people, and West Bengal they wanted to give for the Hindus. In that way, they wanted to divide and rule. For that reason, they have announced partition. In response only, we have launched Swadeshi movement or Vande Mataram movement. Okay, 1905 that we'll be studying in history. Then this is a reason. Okay, so later on, what happened? Intense national movement happened and all. Because of that, British has taken their decision back, and in 1911 they announced that we are halting the partition, and in 1911 only they have shifted the capital from Calcutta to Delhi. Lord Hardinge was the viceroy at that point of time. Gandhiji launched civil disobedience in 1930s. It has no relation here. Then the partition of India in 1947 when East Bengal became Pakistan. No, till then we didn't wait. Okay, so this is the answer B. Right? This was a PYQ asked once in history. So just for your influence. Then next we have Poland. Prime Minister is under Poland visit only currently, right? For that reason I have mentioned this. So one most important thing is Warsaw. That's the capital. And Warsaw Pact was also signed by Russia and Eastern European countries, right? So on the other side you have NATO, right? NATO is of American and Western European countries agreement, a security pact you can say. On the other side, contrary, we have this Warsaw Pact between Russia and Eastern European countries. That means capitalist countries have believed in NATO, this side communist countries. In that way you can understand. So here if you see there is Baltic Sea, right? So Baltic Sea states also they can ask you. In case if they ask you which countries are considered to be Baltic Sea countries, means these three only, although they have border, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, these will be called as Baltic countries. Very important for your examination point of view. And here Sweden is also having border with Baltic. Recently Sweden got into NATO, right? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So that's the reason this location is also important. Then if you see recently, this is the very first time after 45 years any Prime Minister visiting Poland. That's why it is important. After so much time, it is there. And it is in Central Europe. The location is important. And you can see after World War II ended, then actually this Poland, present day Poland, okay, because many countries actually controlled at the point of time before World War II, like Russia means Iran, like we have Germany, right? So many countries tried to control this particular Poland and all, but after World War II only it got this actual form, present day form. And 7 countries have border, right? And then if you see Russia, Ukraine, both who are fighting also have border with this Poland. Then it is having a Baltic Sea coast also. That's very important. Water bodies can be used. Then its capital is Warsaw. Official language is Polish. Okay. Then you have this as a currency. Mountain ranges can be as sometimes you can keep this in mind. And Vistula and Oder is the major rivers that are flowing through. And it also has same type of parliamentary form of government like India, where Prime Minister is the head of the government and President is the head of the state. Then this member of both NATO as well as European Union. That means within the vicinity of Russia, we have a NATO country which is also Poland, right? That is the reason why Russia-Ukraine war started. Because when Ukraine said we are trying to join NATO, all this war started, which is not ending, right? That's the main point. And you know, currently Prime Minister visited Ukraine today, right? So in the light of this. Then next topic we have is liquid water on Mars. Okay, so I have time, please read. So liquid water on Mars. So for the first time, we have found liquid water on Mars because we have started this exploration of finding whether there will be life beyond Earth or not, right? Because you know, anytime any trouble can come because of sea level rise, climate change, or aliens can come and drop a bomb. Anything can happen, right? For that reason, we are exploring whether there is life beyond Earth or not. So in that way, if you explore, we have only one option possible can be inhabitable is this Mars, because so many similarities are there, like in size, in terms of atmosphere, everything. Okay, because if you see other planets, if you go like Mercury and Venus, they're so close to Sun, so intense heat will be there and atmosphere will not be feasible there to live in. But Mars, similar to size, it also takes almost 24 hours to complete one revolution around the Earth and all. So although it may take one rotation will be more, okay, one rotation will be almost equivalent, but one revolution around the Sun will take almost 560 days. That means your birthday again will come 2 years afterwards, not 1 year. Okay, you have to wait more at that point of time if you start living on Mars. In that way, okay, so it is also one promising thing in future. But first time what we found is not we, NASA. That means you know American Space Agency. They have sent this InSight lander to Mars. Okay, so that has landed on Mars and it has found that there is some presence of water. But for the first time, it was found that there is liquid water. That means there can be some chance of tectonic activities. Okay, like what is happening in the Earth, same way in the crust there can be some water presence also. That means it is providing some ray of hope for future, like you can say, future exploration for habitation also can be possible. So you know this is the 4th planet from the Sun, and it is also half of the size of the Earth. Now, this much population is not sufficient on Earth. How it will be sufficient on the Mars? Yes or no? Then it is also considered to be red planet. Why? Because on the Mars surface, if you see, there will be some iron dust which is red in color. So that is why it is named as red planet. Then Earth is called as blue planet. Then it is also a dynamic planet because like Earth, we have seasons there, ice caps, glaciers, canyons, we have grand valleys, we have volcanoes and many other things are there. That is why it is also called as dynamic planet. Many things keep changing and all. Then it has a very thin atmosphere which is composed of carbon dioxide, nitrogen and argon, right? So these are the gases which are there, right? Like on Earth. So this is one you have to keep in mind. And last topic is passive euthanasia. So what is euthanasia? Voluntarily no. Right, very good. Killing a person to end his suffering is the actual thing which you have to use for euthanasia. Euthanasia is of 2 types. One is passive, active. Active means touchpoint and like you can say when you are injecting something or when you are trying to end his life. Okay, at that point of time we call it as active. Passive and injections or lethal injections of ivakunna. For example, a mask is on ventilator. Right? So if you remove that, that is called a passive euthanasia. It enduku vachindi ante concept. When there is right to life, you also have right to dignified death. That is also part. Okay? Ante kontamandi coma lo undi samvatsaralu untaru, right? So వాళ్ళు బేర్ చేసేది ఉన్నా అంటే ఫైనాన్షియల్ గా వాళ్ళు బేర్ చేసి ఆ ట్రీట్మెంట్ కాస్ట్ ఉన్నా కూడా దట్స్ లైక్ పెయిన్ దట్ ద పర్సన్ సఫరింగ్ అంటే కాన్షియస్ గా లేకపోయినా అండర్గోయింగ్ సమ్ పెయిన్. సో హీ దట్ మీన్స్ ఇన్ కేస్ ఇఫ్ ఇప్పుడు యూఎస్ లో ఎలాంటి కాన్సెప్ట్స్ వస్తున్నాయండి, 27-year-old రీసెంట్ గా అమెరికాలో, సో షీ సఫరింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ వన్ మెంటల్ డిసార్డర్, so stress related disorder ఏదో. So because of that she has applied for euthanasia and she was granted euthanasia. 27 years so she has undergone euthanasia, she has killed herself. Okay, that's a different thing. But in India their active euthanasia is allowed, where you can kill your life. But in India only passive euthanasia is allowed. You cannot kill any person life, but you can terminate the treatment, you can stop the treatment, like supplying the oxygen, ventilators, support will be removed and all. That means you can terminate the treatment and the life aid which you generally give to continue his life or sustain his life, but you cannot encourage active euthanasia. So that's the main thing, active euthanasia and passive euthanasia. In India only we have this, we don't have this. Okay, if you do any such thing, it will be considered as murder. Okay, so under section 302 of IPC. Then what is euthanasia? Intentional act of allowing a patient to die by withholding or withdrawing life sustaining treatment. This is what passive euthanasia is. That means whatever the treatment if you are giving, that based on that only if it's living. If you suddenly stop that particular thing, what happens? He may end his life, right? So that is how we are trying to end, because again death also has to be dignified and peaceful. That is what Supreme Court has interpreted. Right to life and the right to life and right to death, right? So that's the ambit. Then common scenarios, what will be done is discontinuing the mechanical ventilation, stopping artificial nutrition. Okay, so through nose and all they'll be providing liquids or hydration that can be stopped, or withholding aggressive medical treatments. All this if they are stopped, we call it as passive euthanasia. Then legal developments, if you see, Supreme Court in 2018 recognized passive euthanasia and upheld the right of individuals, including the terminally ill, to create their directives called living will. అంటే ఒకవేళ ఫ్యూచర్ లో నేను లివింగ్ విల్ రాసి, ఇన్ కేస్ ఇఫ్ ఎనీ సిచ్యువేషన్ ఇఫ్ ఐ హావ్ టు అండర్గో యూథనేషియా, ఐఎమ్ అలోయింగ్ మై సెల్ఫ్ ఆర్ ఐఎమ్ గివింగ్ మై కన్సెంట్ టు అండర్గో పాసివ్ యూథనేషియా అని చెప్పి ముందర లివింగ్ విల్ రాస్తే కనుక, సో euthanasia can be permitted in your case. In that way, Supreme Court has recently agreed, even because you need to have right to peaceful death or dignified death. So in that context, we have discussed this passive euthanasia. Okay, so this is all. Happy now? Okay, I know you are all tired from the morning. Okay, so BTech students especially. Okay, so for you people, considering your interest. Okay, any other doubts? See, that is why they have started asking living will. See, previously that living will concept was also not there before 2018. So what they now mandated is, in case in future if you have any chance, you can say whether I can go for passive euthanasia or not. That means without even consulting your family members, they can terminate your treatment. Okay, but now what happens? Some person may agree, some person may not agree. In that situation, what court will decide? Yes or no? For example, if the children agree that passive euthanasia can be done, the spouse may not agree. Yes or no? In those situations, what happens is there can be some trouble in taking the decision. So what they have started is giving living will. That means if you give in future, if I have any need, I can be given passive euthanasia. Then that will be considered. Active euthanasia is not there in India. Efficiency of vehicle, it doesn't have much effect. Engines will be changed accordingly. In Aruna Shahbag case also, this passive euthanasia was implemented. Aruna Shahbag was a nurse. Almost for 25 years or something, she was in coma. So she was also sexually assaulted, I guess. So when she's under duty and also she was sexually assaulted and she got some injury. So almost for many years, 20 to 25 years, she was under coma, and in that hospital where she was working only, they have readily started giving treatment and all. So after 25 years also, she is not having any sign of recovery. Almost she has reached an age of 50 or 60 at that point of time or more also. At that point of time, the people said it's better to end her life, because unknowingly also she's suffering the pain and all, right? For that particular thing only, we have granted that passive euthanasia. Okay, sometimes the brain dead persons also will be there, coma and all. In those situations, it is important. Okay. It can be different. See, PIL can be there if PIL is there, court will increase those PILs. But if PIL is not there, then it can take on sumoto. But when this PIL concept came into picture, it has increased the ambit of sumoto court.